What's going on, y'all? My name is Raymond Wallace. I'm 22 years old, and you're watching Garden Graduates.
And in a short time, they have gained more independence.
You have to have people who are physically able
Yeah.
to wage revolution.
Hey, I'm a fiend for the knowledge. Breezed through in high school, but I dropped out of college. Some say that's my problem, but I'm learning to stay honest. Educate myself, and that's a promise. I'ma nurture souls and hearts as long as I'm a garden graduate. Garden graduate, garden graduate, garden graduate. I'm a garden graduate, garden graduate, garden graduate.
Today, I have my sister here, Danielle, and today we're going to talk about the black experience, specifically being adopted into a white family. Let's get into it. So first, I wanted to talk about because we never really talked about these things for an extended period of time. I mentioned to you I wanted to talk to you about. Well, let's get into this. How did you find out that you were adopted?
I didn't really find out I was adopted. That's one of
Yeah.
those things that you kind of just realize,
Yeah, it is.
but you don't really know like the term for it. It's just
Yo.
you're different than your parents.
Exactly. Was there like a moment in life where you're like, huh, that you remember where you're like, huh, like we're not the same? Where you looked at mom or papa and you're like, or
Um,
Lucy?
I mean, it wasn't one big moment. It was just something I was used to. So.
Yeah. For me, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but for me, I found out I was adopted this one day, and I don't know if it was first grade, second grade. I was young. I was really young, but I had been in school for about 1 or 2 years, right? And there was like this event that we had, and my teacher was like, "All right, everyone, get your parents together." And this was before, it was a big deal when you could bring food into the damn classrooms.
Yeah.
But she said, "Everyone, get your," because we had a crock pot, and people were baking cornbread, and we were making all kinds of food in that classroom. People were bringing everything in. They said, "Bring your parents. We're gonna have a big feast in the classroom." And I remember I was there, and I was sitting there, and everybody was coming in. Everybody was sitting there, and I was sitting next to mom, and I was just kind of looking around. And I was like, huh. So why? I said, everybody kind of looks like their parents. I said,
Yeah.
what the hell is that? I said, wait, this don't make sense. Something ain't adding up. Something ain't adding up. But I was really shy back then. So I remember I looked at mom and I didn't say shit. I just really wanted to ask her, like, what's going on? And I was like, nah, I'm gonna wait till we get home. And then we got home, and this was the house in Waxhaw that they lived in together. We got home and we got in the kitchen. And I remember I looked up at mom, and I don't know, I didn't talk to her about this since this happened. I got to talk to her about it, but I was like, "Mommy, why am I brown?" And she said, "'Cause you're adopted." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I walked away, and I didn't know what the hell she was talking about. I was like, "Yeah, I'm adopted." Okay, well that makes no sense, but all right. And then you get older and you find out like, okay, I didn't come from my parents biologically. I came from somebody else, but these are my parents. And that's kind of where I wanted to talk to you about finding your identity within the black community while you're in a white family, because we also have Lucy, who is our youngest sister, and she is our adopted parents. She's our parents' biological child, so she's white. So I mean, we go out in public. It's starting to rain a little bit. We go out in public, and if it gets too bad, we'll go inside. And it's different. It's different. So how did you struggle finding your identity within the African American community when you were growing up?
Um, it wasn't necessarily a struggle.
Yeah.
This is where I don't really talk about because like I don't have an identity. I feel like I don't necessarily have an identity towards any community specifically.
I understand that. And I think that's a product of being raised in a white family and being a black individual is that you try not to see, or you're, at least in this family, you're raised not really to see color so much, which is both problematic in the sense that you don't recognize cultural differences and you don't celebrate the cultural differences, but it's also a good thing because you're not you're not racist. So, but I got called white a lot when I was in school, and that really
I did too.
You did? That really bothered me. How did that make you feel?
It didn't bother me. I didn't, because like I said, I didn't really identify with any, what would you call that? Racial label, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things that a bully would just say.
I understand. Yeah, you're right. I took it to heart because it was a problem within me that I've always wanted to be that black strong leader, and I think that's just like the man in me that has to provide, that has to teach, but everybody's a teacher, you know what I'm saying? But I've always wanted to be a leader, and at some point in my life I specifically wanted to be a leader in the black community, so it hurt me to hear that I acted white, I sounded white, I spoke white, because there's not really a white way to speak, you know what I'm saying? If you speak properly, that's not being white, that's speaking properly. And that's where the barrier, you know what I'm saying? People think of it as a joke, and it ain't really a joke, you know what I mean? Because it ain't, like shit, it ain't funny. Like, I get what you're trying to say. I am different from most of the people in the black community that you personally have experience, but that does not make me white, you know what I mean? Shit, Tyler Perry talks very proper. You know what he has? A whole damn studio and a bunch of money. And I mean, like, I don't know, it bothered me. So I made an attempt to go out, like, reach out to, like, my black friends and the people in my life who were black and better know their family, because then I could, in some sense, have, like, a black mother figure, and in some sense have a black brother, because I don't have a brother. You know, I have you and Isha, I have 2 black sisters, and that's a great thing, but I don't have, like, the black bonding, like, because most of my friends growing up were white, you know what I mean? And that's just, I don't know if that's a result of me, like, it's not because I was afraid of black people, because I'm black, you know what I mean? In the 3rd grade, personally, I remember when we transferred, when Papa and Mom separated, and we went from Kensington, wherever that school was, that one school to Antioch, and I met this girl, and I can't remember her name, but she was so dark. She came to me on the first day, and I sat down, and she asked me if I wanted to, like, hang out with her, like draw or something with her. And she was so dark, like so much darker than me. And I loved looking at her. I just love looking at her. She, number one, she made me feel less alone. And number 2, like, I don't know, like she made me feel less ugly. Because I felt kind of ugly for being brown for a while. Did you?
Yeah, sometimes.
But like, I don't know. There were some points when we were younger when like we put lotion on, when Mom made us put lotion on, and we just shine, and I'd be like, damn, we look good, like, you know what I'm saying? That's in those instances, I'd be like, damn, you know, like I'm brown, you know what I mean? And I love that. But let's talk about, because there are people who believe that black people should not be adopted into white communities specifically because they struggle with having an identity, and because you do not identify specifically with a racial identity. How do you feel about people who have that opinion, you know, who struggle to really get with the fact that there are white people who can provide and can do good things? I mean, it's not necessarily about the good things, but you know, they think that as far as the black community goes, they're missing a piece of themselves. What do you think about that?
I feel like, again, it's the same for anyone who's adopted or who even might have like cultural differences from their parents. For like, to say if like a Mexican family adopted a white kid, it's still up to, it's not up, well, yeah, I guess it's up to the kid that's adopted if that's something that they want to do.
Yeah.
Like learn about their culture, that's up to them. They always have the chance to do
don't
that.
you think that it's also a responsibility for the parents as the people who are adopting a child of a different race to kind of incorporate some of their culture, the child's culture, into their lifestyle?
Yeah, that's important too.
Yeah, because we didn't necessarily celebrate like Kwanzaa or anything, but we did.
Yeah, but I also know a lot of black people who do identify with the African American culture that also just don't celebrate it.
No, you're right. You're right. Exactly. And I think that's something we all as a group should start celebrating and stuff. But I mean, like, we weren't necessarily ripped from our culture by being adopted by mom and papa, because papa, not only did he, I mean, not very recently, about a year or two ago, he made an attempt. He had a whole interview and made just this big public thing that he saved it was a slave burial ground. It was unmarked, but it was historical, and it was right behind his apartment complex that he was living in with his wife at the time, Christine. And that to me was a big like milestone in him appreciating, not only like accepting our community, but accepting us. You know what I mean? Because nowadays he's a little more conservative, but like I hear stories of things that he used to do and how he used to be, and he's a very good spirit. You know what I mean? He's not racially prejudiced towards anybody. Racially prejudiced towards us. He makes some comments that make me want to just smack him upside the head, but you know what it is. Older folks sometimes. But that's the whole point of this, is just to get the awareness out, and so that people can learn from the perspective of others, what it is to live. And I want to ask you because I was watching Red Table Talk, and there's a woman there. They were talking about this as a very similar concept, and I felt that you and I have different perspectives to share, because this person in particular did not identify as a black person. She identified more as a white person, and I feel like neither you or I identify as a white person. If you don't have an identification racially, I identify strongly as a black man.
I obviously identify as black.
Yeah.
I feel like it reminds me of that one story of that white girl who said that she identifies as black now. She started talking like a gangster, and I feel like your identity is, this is gonna sound real scientific, but it's really just what's in your DNA. Like I identify as black because I'm black and I'm African American.
Yeah.
So.
Me too. Yeah. And that does not stop us from understanding, sitting down and listening and understanding the perception of a white, Hispanic, Asian individual.
Yeah.
And it should not stop anybody else from listening and trying to understand the perception of anybody who is a different kind from them. But I want to talk to you about tokenism, being the token black friend, because I remember specifically you telling me that there was a class that you were in where you were the only black kid in your class.
Well, that happened a lot at Antioch.
Really?
Yeah, there were not a lot of black students in that area.
There weren't, but I always had at least 2 or 3 other black kids in my classes there. Like, there was never just me and somebody else, you know what I mean? It wasn't like if the other black kid was absent, it was just me. It was always somebody else, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that shook me, because I think, if I remember correctly, that was the year they sent home a letter to mom saying that you were quiet and depressed. Was it not?
Maybe.
Because I remember mom said they sent home a letter saying that you weren't talking to anybody, and we thought that was weird. Like, we were like, Danny's always like, just kind of keep, like, she's just chilling. Like, she's not, you know what I'm saying?
That doesn't have anything to do with that.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay, cool. Because I figured, I thought about that, and I was like, maybe just because she doesn't, feel like she identifies, like, I mean, it's not that you can't have white friends, but.
I mean, I'm not gonna say it was weird, but it was nice the first time I did have a black friend, which was finally when I joined marching band, Madison.
That's when I loved.
She was like my first real black friend.
That's when I saw you kind of get more black friends, and I really enjoyed seeing that. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I want us to have a strong community where we can, because we have a strong community within the household. I don't want to, diminish anything that our parents have done for us and our family, but a strong community with our own community that we can go to and have to talk to our problems. Because no matter, and I always say this in the dating world, which is funny about, because I usually date white girls. That's what happens. I mean, it's not a preference. It's just white girls and we just always end up together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I click with black girls, I click with Asian girls, I click with all kinds of girls. But I date a lot of white girls. And the hardest thing about dating somebody outside of your race is that you have to try to explain things to them that they just don't understand, because they were not born with the conditions that come with your skin tone. In society. And like, it's so much different. I'm not gonna say her name. Everybody who knows me probably know what I'm talking about, but I went to an ex's house and I met, I was with her family, and I remember, they're all white. And I remember specifically, I don't like personally hearing white folks say the N-word. And I remember sitting there and they were all getting riled up. We were doing our thing. It was having a good time. And then somebody dropped the N-word. And then somebody else dropped the N-word. And then they was all dropping the N-word. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, this ain't my house. This ain't my house. This ain't my house. And I got in the car with her. I was like, what the fuck? I said, look, I don't want to hear no. I was like, look, I ain't trying to change nobody, but I just don't want to be around that shit. Like I'm good because like that's And what made me most upset about it is somewhere in the mix, someone had a daughter who was afraid of me because I was apparently the first black person she had seen. So why are you saying the N-word if your daughter, not even your daughter has been like, don't even say the N-word first of all. And I don't know, it kind of hit me, you know what I'm saying? And as far as token racism, being the token black friend, it feels, I feel like I was that, and I hate saying that because I feel like it kind of invalidates my friendship with people. And I don't say that, I'm not gonna say that I didn't have a deep friendship with my white friends in high school. I did have a very, very, very deep friendship with them. But I did because I didn't have many black friends I felt a deep connection with, not as deep as I felt with my white friends. I did feel like the token black person of the group.
Yeah.
And those who don't understand what it means to be the token black person, it means that you are pretty much there because the person of another race, or usually white individuals, groups of white individuals, they have token black friends to either validate that they are open to all kinds of people, or they have black friends to validate that they're in the eyes of God, just to make them seem like a better person either in the public or to make them seem better to themselves. And they're not really, they could have like a decent relationship with this person, but it's never going to reach past a certain level. They'll never get really, in depth because they are the token black friend. And I did feel that in a lot of situations, and that's really what pushed me to find black individuals that I connected with, that I can talk to and say, hey, I want to be a part of this community. I want to learn what this community is more about, because being black or red, like you said, is in your DNA. You get pulled over, the cop ain't gonna assume that you're adopted by white people. You're already black. Okay, so already from like to an extent what it's like to be in the black community. It's not something that's ripped from you just because you live with white people, because you already are gonna get treated like you're black anywhere else.
Yeah.
And you get older and you're not holding mommy and daddy's hands. We go places all the time and people don't know that my father and I are related. They think that we're friends, or I'm not gonna lie to you. There was an occasion where my older sister, and my father were walking down the street, and the police came up to them and questioned them because they thought that my father was kidnapping my older sister. I'm not really sure why, because they look different, but even then they could have just been friends.
Yeah.
So that's, what that's all about for shit. That's crazy. But what I want to finish this conversation with is how you think we can further educate people of all communities to understand really what it means to be adopted into a white community as a black person. Because I think that a lot of people either are real on this side or real on this side. They're like, nah, that's not cool, or yeah, you're helping the world. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that some people do adopt with the intention of getting a certain colored child, which I don't understand, but most people just go into it, they foster, and then they find a child. And that child, they fall in love with. That's what I hear all the time when I talk to people who have adopted kids. And I know how we were adopted. It had nothing to do with our skin color. It had to do with grandma. It had to do with grandma, and it had to do with grandma being like, that one, and it was me. And I don't know, how do we get to the conclusion that, how do we help people understand that it's not white and black, that there's a lot of different things that are in the loop to it?
I think it would be good for people to, I guess, go out and experience different cultures. Kind of like culture shock. Get more friends that are of a different culture than you, and just learn from them.
Yes, I believe that too, because I learned a lot growing up. At least me, a lot of the people I meet are also adopted. I met a lot of people who are adopted, and you would never know. But you mention it in conversation, and they're like, "Hey, I'm adopted too," And sometimes they are adopted into different race families, and that's really cool. It's more common than you might think. And I think that there is a lot of us that are able to find an identity that, you know, and it takes time. It takes time for any individual to find an identity, because even if you are born into the racial group that you identify as, you still have to go out and learn how to understand people of all the different races. And that's what you gotta do as an adopted person too. You just learn it a little bit earlier than most people. That's what I think. Okay. Well, here at Garden Graduates, we like to educate and we like to strive for the best. So we are going to end with a historical game. Well, it's not a historical game. We're going to end with a game about Black history, and we're going to move over to the hut for that. All right. So this is a game of wit. Prior to our discussion today, I sent Danielle some information in an article discussing multiple groups in African American history that made a difference, that made an impact on African Americans and their liberties today. I'm going to read 3 questions, and for each question, there is a prize to be won. You're going to get 2 chances to answer each question correctly. And after you answer each question correctly, you will win the prize. At the end of it, I got something for you, okay? All right, let's get this going. This is a prize box.
It's like an answer.
Yes. It's okay. All right. Question number 1. In June 1905, a group led by this prominent Black educator sparked a new political protest demanding rights for Black Americans.
No, that's the name.
Who was this individual?
W.E.B. Dubai.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Right. Prize number 1 is actually in this bag right here. There's loose change.
Is that the prize?
No, you gotta open. You gotta take it out of it. It ain't the bag.
No, you said the loose change.
No, it's not the loose change.
Oh, that's cool.
Hold it to the camera. Let them know what you got.
It is a kit to grow daisies.
Oh yeah. Here at Garden Graduates, we are always promoting growing your own stuff.
I keep the change.
Yes, you can keep the loose change. All right. Question number 2. What was the name of the civil rights organization that joined political agendas with supporters of the Niagara movement? And you can use the abbreviation.
I know both. It's the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People.
Yes, okay.
It's
The NAACP, yes.
Yeah.
Perfect, all right. That's a good one, that's good. She studied. These are things y'all should know. Oh, don't look.
Well, you're right next to me.
All right, prize number 2. Show me what you got.
I got Sushi Go. Sounds like a Japanese word. It's a card game with sushis on it.
That's personal because Danielle loves sushi. All right, and the last question is, name one of the goals that the NAACP set.
I know one of the goals was to stop the public lynchings.
Okay. Can you name one more?
They wanted to enforce the 14th and 15th Amendment.
Yup. In addition to enforcing equal education for both Black and white individuals, and they wanted to abolish segregation. And that was the final prize. And for your final prize, I'm sure you already saw it since you opened the box. Show the camera. All right, that's it. So now I got something real special that every Garden graduate receives at the end of every episode. Come with us. All right, today I wanted to honor Danielle Wallace, our very first Garden graduate guest, her very first Garden graduate diploma. You wanna wrap it? You wanna show everybody what it look like?
Nice.
Well, I want to thank you for participating, not only participating, but trying to make the world a better place by sharing your story and sharing your opinions as a Black individual. Thank you.
Chicken wings.
You got your diploma.